Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you'll hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Soul Rising podcast. Ginny, I'm so glad you are with us on this interview.
I'm so happy to be here. It's good to be with everybody. I miss being able to see everybody all the time and hang out. It's just the way of life. But I am super grateful that I'm able to be here today with you and our friend, Vicki.
Yeah, I was like, Ginny, you have to be.
We have to figure out how to do this one. I know. Yeah, thank you so much for including me on that because I know Vicki's going to share some pretty amazing info with us today.
So we have our amazing friend and my Pearl Jam sister, our great friend, our awesome Vicki Somoya. She is a somatic therapist that works with quantum light technology to reprogram your nervous system. Now, if that doesn't sound like so super cool and exciting to you guys, I don't know what does. So Vicki, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll launch into our conversation.
Hi, everyone. Thrilled to be here and be with you, lovely sister. But I was always a mover. I knew myself and my soul when I was moving. So I had a long career as a professional dancer. I ended up teaching, choreographing, and doing a lot of creative endeavors. I then got injured and through a series of surgeries that happened around my womb, my lower back, my abdominals, and more than one of them led me into rehabilitation. A few years after that, had a head-on car collision. And that even propelled me further into healing myself. I re-stabilized my spine through core work. I became certified in other modalities, which work with not only the physical body, but the way we think about our bodies, which has a lot to do with how our bodies behave. And I started using Reiki. I got certified in gyrotonic, Reiki, the energy work, some healing work that works a little bit more with the other layers of the body that aren't physical. And I don't mean to say just physical because we know ourselves as that first, that feels like we're home in our physical bodies. I started to work with the Kundalini yoga therapy, and that's the most recent place I found a lot of personal healing and growth is through really looking deeply into how my organs are helping my body and my immune system, my nervous system, and everything about how I feel about living this life through the Kundalini. So what I've come to find coming into the Kundalini work and seeing our bodies now as being more than physical, my belief always was that we're energy first, that we're actually just energy housed in this physical form in this life on planet Earth, and how our consciousness is here. How does it land, let's say, so that we can be experiencing this now present moment? And that consciousness is something that actually all humans have and are connected to, which is a larger, wider field of a consciousness and a quantum reality that isn't in this time-space reality. And there is a way that we can connect into it and become it by using our breath, our bodies, and our minds, also our imagination is a lot of it, to open up the field inside of us, which is already part of our programming that has to do with our cranial, our pituitary, and our hypothalamus. And as those are activated through bringing up the energies of our base chakra, so it really is about our base essence, which is our density, our most dense place in our body of root chakra. And as it comes up, our central channel, it becomes more pure. So as our channel comes online and we can run the energies up and down and through our systems that are already programmed to do this, our DNA is what gives us this capability to actually run this energy of light, know ourselves as light and our consciousness, and we can actually experience now, more than we ever could, because it's coming more online for humans to experience now, because we need to go through this unity, understanding that we all are just one human family with one consciousness. Any way at all, we've been programmed to think that we're separate from nature, separate from people who don't believe what we believe. That's not real. And the reality is we all are one. And now we can actually experience the feeling, which is pretty powerful and amazing. I believe this is our power and the birthright that we came onto this planet to refine, to remember, so that we can walk as beings of light and create and bring this paradise on earth of the light and form onto this planet. That it was always meant to be that way, that it was actually once that way, and we fell and went through this yuga cycle of the, 26,000 years of all of this darkness. And now we have all these cycles aligning really sort of fantastically.
And it's basically, Vicki, we're at the end of that long cycle, right? We're at the beginning of a new cycle right now. Is that it's like a 26,000 year cycle, right? Was it Kali Yuga? Is that what it was called?
Kali Yuga. Yep. Has to do with the precession of the first, the equinoxes, take a certain amount of time to recalibrate and go back. So this is what the Mayan calendar was about. And so 2012, it was the reset, and 2013 was year one of the new era.
And then have you heard of something, a reference to the same thing? Because I'm sure you're probably familiar with Dolores Cannon, right? It's based on the idea, like she was talking about, that we haven't experienced all this yet because there needed to be a certain amount of people ready to get online, basically, like Vicki was talking about. And then we'd be able to kind of like activate all of that. And that point is called the tipping point. Is it something like that, Vicki? You are going to know better than me, but
that's exactly it, Ginny. And we have reached the tipping point from more than one source. Almost every source I go to is that the amount of souls that are on their track to awakening are here.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that we are on the track, but we have it in our soul pathway, like in our soul mission. Those children, they're all programmed to really live in the 5D, in the higher dimension that this earth is turning into with the new country coming online.
How do we do that? So I know about the crystalline grid and connecting with the crystalline grid and bringing that high frequency down into our bodies, right? Is that what the light body means? Is becoming that light in our physical body?
Good things. I think the earth herself as a being is doing her own crystalline upgrade. And then our human bodies, and remember, we're just a mirror of her. We're actually, if you look at the geometry and the way the geometries of nature and our bodies are mirrors of each other. They talked about this junk DNA, like this terminology. I don't know if you've heard of it. Like we have this junk.
I have. Yeah, that we've been that we have junk DNA, but we actually have like the God particle in us.
Yeah,
definitely.
They couldn't figure out what the junk DNA was. So if you look at quantum physics and like the work of Nassim Haramein and the unified field theory, he has a new society he's created up in Geneva, which is the Unified International Science and Space Federation. He's already knowing that we're going to be able to kind of give quantum energy, give us free energy, as we were.
Because it was work to be free from the beginning, right? Like Tesla told us, it was actually free and boundless. Like we have more than anybody should ever know what to do with, and we, by our birthright, like you were saying, like our sovereignty is something that's intact in us, and that the energy that we've been convinced we don't have enough of is actually that we all actually are able to access infinite amounts, but we're meant to forget, right? Or convinced to.
We're working out of the forgetting. I think that's what's happening. And that particle, like you said, that God particle is that part of the DNA that they were saying is junk, which is a quantum level of DNA. So it's where the energy has a wave, which is quantum, or become matter. So it's literally how energy becomes matter. And we are that technology.
Wow.
It is in us. We were talking before we got on here about the word Emmanuel and Christ. I want to talk more about Christ and the Christ consciousness and how Christ is in us. They say it in the Bible and scripture. I mean, it's there that Christ is in us. But for some reason, that part is not pushed in mainstream religion, I think, because then we would just become too powerful and that threatens the powers that be. Vicki, what do you think about that? Like when they say Christ is coming, you know, like he will be here. When I sit in church and I hear that, my first thought is he's not coming back a human. He's coming back inside of us. Do you believe that?
That's exactly what I know that it is, because when the church was formed, they intentionally hid his actual true teaching, which came through the Essenes, because his parents were Essene Gnostics and were high level, divine spiritual technologists, you could say, who understood that humans were being lied to and that his mission, they knew Christ came to show as his understanding of knowing himself completely as that purity of consciousness and love, and to become that and walk on the earth to show us that we are that as well. If he was saying,
Yes.
and the things I do, you will do, and more.
I just said it.
We just said that.
Yeah, and the whole part, he says, ye are all gods, and you will do what I have done and more. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls and other things they've uncovered and that are online that you can read. There's something called the Gospel of Peace that's in Jesus' word. And it has his prayers in Aramaic, in Hebrew. He spoke Aramaic. It was all about the language. It was the technology. It's vibration. When we speak, so we speak the holy Hebrew word. You know, the Our Father in Hebrew. When you speak that, it fills up your soul. You feel vibration. I do. I feel my whole body beat because the sounds are the technology, and we create by speaking into form. Think about it, right? It's when I'm thinking into how, whatever syllable and way I want to, that will give a meaning to the world around me. I'm creating the world around me. So yes, the original languages have the power, and they're findable. One Dabastamaya, which is the Aramaic prayer that he used quite a bit, and I've been meditating with.
What does it mean?
One Dabastamaya. I don't know that exact translation, but I believe it is I am. It's a connection where your I am consciousness is connecting with the all.
Yes. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Just like Moses said, you know, I am what I am, right? Is that something like that?
Was that Popeye? He was strong too. Just say I am what I am.
Something like that. You guys get it. Yeah. We are the universe. We are God. We are all of it together. And so, like, how can we get there? What can we do to, like, really bring this home for people so that they feel that this is something that's achievable, something that is real, number one? I mean, we don't have to convince them. They're either going to believe it or they're not. But for those who believe it, how can they bring this beautiful high-frequency energy into their being and then just radiate love? Because that's the whole point, right? We're all just trying to become love.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's twofold. I think there's, like you said, the understanding, right, which is a cognitive thing. And then we have the experiential, which is feeling and being in that vibration, being in that. And I think the real work will come when those that can hold the frequency and be that in presence with others, like we're doing now, can help people understand, well, okay, I don't quite get that because everything I've been told up till now is not that. We're actually really on the edge of it, in paradigm of thinking about what humans actually are, what we are, where we came from, and how all of these separate things like science, religion, economics, politics, are all in the same world that now need to come to agreement.
Do you think people can start doing this by healing their own wounds, their trauma, their grief? Do you think that heavy energy is blocking people from letting this come in? You're a somatic therapist, right? It's about healing the nervous system and the breath. The breath will bring up a lot of emotion. Like that whole process of breath work brings a lot of stuff to the surface. So like, I feel like to heal, I have to do all of it, right? Like I can't just go and sit and get reprogrammed with like EFT tapping or EMDR or hypnotherapy, whatever it is. I have to also be willing to face and feel my pain, right? And then, and heal that on, like you said, the conscious, a cognizant level, spiritual level, bodily, physical, like it's all of it. So we can't leave out the part of acknowledging, facing, embracing, and healing our pain, feeling it, crying, right? Like going into it.
Yeah. And that's the hard work. There's a meditation I do in the morning that is, I am the flame. I am the spark of the divine. And I feel that within myself. And knowing that that's existing at the same time that all of any trauma I've ever experienced or anything that still might be in my body, it's coexisting. So when we are able to let it all come up and feel the hurt, the last healing that I just did was all about my heart, feeling things I didn't even know were in there. I didn't know how I really felt about losing my brothers or my father. I didn't really feel it. I didn't allow myself to go there because it was too painful. But in this healing, wrenched my heart open wide to where I was writhing on the floor until it subsided. And then I came up and blessed it as a gift. So it's the fire in our heart. We're meant to feel all the traumas that we've had. We're meant to feel them because our gift open us up into a greater way of seeing the other. When we've been so broken and yet forgiven that, said, thank you, God, that was a gift. Then we can hold that compassion when we're helping and feeling others that maybe we don't understand why they're behaving and or acting a certain way. But we cannot hold that space unless our own hearts have been honed and honed and honed over and over by lifetime of hurt.
But we say in the program recovery, we say you can't give away something that you don't have. So you have to be able to know what that feeling is in order to recognize it in somebody else. And right. And that I feel like is what this whole consciousness is opening up to feeling all the different emotions so that we can then tap into what's going on in the collective. Like healing the personal pain. I say this all the time. Healing our personal pain is going to help heal the collective pain for so many reasons, right? The energy we put out, the energy we
it's not. There's no collective without the individual, because in reality, every soul is a reflection of the one. We're just reflections of each other, right? So as we take on and become the one, and we heal that, then we're reflecting that around us. Then those souls that are ready will come and be a reflection. We're so caught up in this doing, and our society is about do. But yet going in and spending that time to go through the process of healing our own trauma is the only way we're going to get to unity consciousness. And then also, Amanda, what you said, and you wanted to talk about grace. And this is something that came to me in a past life healing. When he was on the cross, which I don't believe he actually completely died, that there was his consciousness always, yes, because he rose again, but yet how did that work with his physical body? But I've been researching where he actually had a lot of help because he spent time in India and worked really in depth with a lot of the masters and the yogi masters in India. And there's research that can show where he was so that he could control his body. It was torture. They were torturing him on the cross. He's in the middle of being tortured in a physical, unimaginable way. And yet hold that compassion of forgiveness by saying they do not know what they do. And so that is the level. That's the level. If we can hold or at least connect somehow with a Christ consciousness that was so above the earthly trauma or torture. And I know a lot of us have past lives that, we did things where we were burned at the stake. We were witches. We've done things in our past. I have past lives that were nominally torturous, and yet I'm not. Because I know you're not up here. You're not even physical. You're pure spirit.
Yep.
So let them do whatever they want to your body. You're higher. You're not even on the earth. You're not even physical, right? To go to that level is where we're being asked to go.
I love that you brought up when he was on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they are not what they do. And I think I got that one right. I don't think that's Popeye.
No, that got it.
I actually put that in my book, and my book is not religious or anything like that, but I put that in there specifically because I was trying to explain what you're talking about, that we are being called to that level of love, that level of compassion for others. And it kills me when I see all over social media and the personal development world. It feels like we're going in the opposite direction in some circles. A lot of people are talking about like protect yourself and don't go there and stay away from anybody who's going to challenge you, essentially, or harm your mental health or whatever. You don't need any difficulty in your life, or you don't need any of that, when really those people are just in pain, right? The people that are causing us difficulty in our life are in pain. So does it really serve us to constantly be making sure that we're comfortable 24/7? Or does it serve us more to enter to those situations to practice this, to practice having that Christ level? Because that's what's going to get us there. The more we act like that, the more we show up in spaces like that for people and hold their pain, feeling safe enough that you're not going to get sucked into it, right? Feeling safe enough that you then can come out of it. That I think it is really important for people to know that by you feeling somebody else's pain doesn't mean that your whole day or week or month is going to be ruined, that you are powerful enough to go in, feel it, be with them, maybe try and even heal it somehow just by your own loving energy, giving it to them. And then you come out. And then you revitalize, you regroup, you do whatever, right? You do your own heal, and then you go back in. We're being called to do this really hard work. When we say we can do hard things, that whole thing, are we really doing the hard thing, or are we kind of hiding from it? I'm not sure, but
that's such a good point. It's such a good point. I think that's interesting, and Vicki, you can chime in on this too, because I'm sure and a lot of spiritual, or the people, even the kids coming about, like you were talking about with the sensitivities, part of it, right? I think everything Amanda's saying is exactly right. I think there's also this other side and this balance where there's a bunch of us walking around too that have been either super empathic and not knowing how to create even the boundary of self-love. Like we were saying, you can't give it away if you don't have it. I think there's a lot of people that haven't even forgiven themselves, forgiven their past, forgiven their ancestors, forgiven whatever, right? That part of this is also learning okay, because some people, that's all they've ever done for their validation is to go run to that and try to transmute it and help everything and do everything. Meanwhile, putting themselves somewhere back here on a back burner. So at the same time, having the courage and being called to not only be able to do it with and for others, but actually have that genuine, authentic portion of it with ourselves first too. You guys are talking about that coming through healing. I think there's somewhere in between, right? There's this balance of okay, well, if I definitely have it anchored in myself versus just constantly running to it like a moth to a flame, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this. But meanwhile, we're not fixing it in here. And you might be able to speak to that with those challenges with empathic people, potentially. I'm sure, Vicki. What do you suggest for that too?
Yeah, you both hit the nail on the head as what we're dealing with as empaths right now. And I've been an empath my whole life and never knew. I think the key word in this topic is boundaries. And what does that mean, right? Like you were saying, Amanda, it could mean where I'm able to open up and get really in tune with this other person to help them. And then I have to go back and regroup. Or could it mean that what we embody and carry every day is our own field, which we don't want to squash that. Like, we don't want to limit ourselves and only pick and choose where we're being called or whatever. But literally, if our own field of our heart, which is a field, it's a magnetic field, can actually be our boundary. And we'll know, if in passing by, there's a stranger does something like negative, there's a choice, you engage or not, always. And our heart can let us know, right? We can listen to the heart, go, oh, wow, I'm feeling a call of that person. I could help them right now. My heart's saying, and maybe lend a word or two for that moment and then go on about your day. Or is your heart saying, oh, that's really, that's beyond my pay grade. At some point, we have to have that place where we are still preserving. And that's okay. That's our job. That we're actually going to serve the collective more by always going back to our heart and listening and preserving ourselves. Because again, nothing really on the outside is going to be any different than what it is here at home, because everything's a reflection. So there's findings now that our brain is not who we are, but also we have neurons in other parts of our body. This way, the hemispheres, the brain fire, we have those same cells doing the same things in our heart and in our gut. So we have actual knowing that lives in our bodies, in our other centers, right? Again, really checking in and listening, like, yeah, I can't really give my energy right there right now. I gotta go here. Or my heart is feeling really calm. And you can always go back to setting your own boundary, but I believe that has to come first.
I think that it's about embodying all of that all the time. It's not necessarily like being in one place and then bringing it back. I like what you said. It's, if I'm understanding correctly, it's kind of like having this just aura about us, just like who we are and how we carry ourselves through our everyday life, so that it's not so exhausting, so that we don't feel like our energy is being depleted, so that we can find that comfortable place where we can be all in, we could be in, but we're all in with them, we're all in with us, we're all in with one thing together.
Yeah, we're the field. And I think we just trust our own knowing, which is going to just keep talking to us through our heart, because we're that wired now. And especially, this group, I know we've been doing the work. How we help others do the work is we're learning different terminologies and ways to help people go in. So the number one thing, I think, of what you were saying before, Amanda, how do we help other people kind of shift into this new way of seeing what we are and what's going on with the world? Number one, polarity isn't real. It's only there as two ends of the whole. So if someone is choosing a side in anything and seeing the opposite is negative, it's not real. And that being right there is like, that blows people's minds, because we're all programmed to see.
Yeah, blew my mind. I've always felt that. Thank you for saying that. Like, taking sides in a war or taking sides in a family argument or whatever never feels right. It just never feels like the right thing to do. So then thank you for saying that, because I go back and forth with that. Because I'm like, well, their actions are obviously wrong, or this one's acting, whatever it is. But like, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Because now I finally feel like, yes, I am aligned, trusting my instinct, that is my instinct. And something is telling me that is where I need to be. So anyway, I just got excited about that. Just want to throw that in.
So that's the amazing thing about it. We're talking about each individual spark that's here. You're talking about that fire, which is really cool, Vicki, to hear you talk about that. And I know for sure I want to learn and look into some of these like Aramaic prayers, because the idea that each of us has a spark, has that flame within us. And yet somehow, and as we're all part of the whole, there's pieces each of us is missing differently than someone else that's going to help those wires connect. Each one of us in our skin, it's like everyone's journey is different, although we're carrying a lot of our ancestors were carrying that DNA within us, but we're in that lineage. Like, to hear anyone talk about, hey, even the things that feel like they might be the most opposite, if you think about it, like you're saying, like a north and a south of a pole, it's all in the same thing, that looking at one is bad, one like night saying day is bad, or day saying night is bad, you know, they're of the same day. Like, it's of the same thing, which is just very cool because you simplified it. I think just like Amanda said, thank you for sharing it in that way, because it makes it very simple and very clear.
Yeah, the polarity is only here because we're in this space and time. We're experiencing the density of form, which chose to be here to know itself in polarity. God wanted to know itself by knowing the opposite. And those things are sometimes meant to play out. Like, it's a drama. It's a play. Part of it is like,
It is.
what?
It is. The theater of the absurd.
Or the absurd, yeah. But we wouldn't, like you were saying, it carved out a place, though. Like, these wars, death, the pain, all the things, carves out a hole in us but that is also the openness of like what can be filled with love. It carves that out. And if we don't have that, you don't have the ebb and flow of those things, right? We need all of it.
There is no dark matter. There is
no dark matter. Exactly. If anybody out there who's watching, listening to this and read my book and about that spiritual awakening, the crazy spiritual awakening that I had at the Pearl Jam concert in 2018 at the home shows, Vicki, that's where I met Vicki, and Vicki was my right-hand girl.
I think it's amazing that the two of you have stayed in contact, because I believe, and Amanda, you and I have talked about this before too, it's the same thing with you and I running into each other's lives at the time that we did. We have those opportunities with so many human beings around us all the time, but we're just kind of, we're not tapped in, right? So we have these opportunities to have situations that could be life-changing with one another, like you guys have had. You literally had life-altering experiences during this chunk of time, and you came from two different places. You guys met, like, boom, there it was. You guys were brought at that time. And I feel like the more we're open to that, the more we'll get those opportunities with other humans, but that we could literally be experiencing that, like that, again, highest form of love, right? Where you guys had, you have a bond that no two other people were at that time in that space. That was a spark. It was like a catalyst for a whole other, I mean, look at the chapter that your life has been on, Amanda, the last 6 years.
Wild experience. And Vicki and I just knew.
It was incredible because there was like, I don't know if you felt this, Amanda, but it was like there was this need to know each other's story. For some reason, I needed to know your story. It was like you related to me in a way. I just knew it. And I was like, yeah, this is like what I've been going through. And we kept asking each other questions that most people wouldn't ask in just the first 10 minutes of meeting each other. Really, it was that. Of course, we were backstage, like trying to watch the sound check. So that helped. But it was like...
Yeah, we were like peeking through. We spent that first night. We were together sleeping on the sidewalk. We spent the first few hours of that in the evening, like just you and me by ourselves behind the stadium, trying to watch the sound check, like you said, just getting to know each other. And it was just like instantaneous. There was just some kind of crazy energy going on. The Lionsgate portal, that was that Friday. We met on that Wednesday. So like, yeah, there was just a crazy energy going on. And I believe it was for this. I believe the universe kind of conspired to bring us together to make that flame brighter. It like blew a little bit on that ember, and like you and I coming together, boom, right? So like now we're talking, how many people are going to listen to this, right? So like people like us come together, we find each other to do this work so that it can then abound and expand, and just it's just all part of it. We were meant to be, you and me.
There's an acceleration, right? When souls like don't have that similar soul path meet, it's like they sort of ignite each other. That's really what it felt like to me.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm sorry, we can really digress. So we talked about polarity, and then what was the second tool or idea, concept you wanted to tell us about?
So when the pandemic hit, I was living in Seattle, and I had an opportunity to go live on Kauai. And I had like a past life and shamanic attunement kind of. And what came out of that was she said, and I was born in Hawaii, so I knew I always wanted to go.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was born on Oahu, in Honolulu, but I chose that. I chose it. because of the land itself is very potent for the earth and was some of the original land that was here and the original civilization of Lemuria, which took up the whole
Lemurian.
ocean. Yeah, Lemuria. But anyway, I knew I would always go back there, but what you said before, Amanda, about that, how can we hold this frequency so that when we come into polarity, we can help people like navigate through it? And what this shamanic woman said to me is you're going back to Hawaii so that, not so that you can know, because I asked this about my career, how am I going to keep my career going when I'm like living on an island in the middle of the Pacific? And she said, no, you're going to understand how to be. It's the actual way that every minute of life is something like we're in a canoe and we're going down this river, and every rock, every wave, everything is every moment in our life. We're navigating. But are we sitting in the canoe like, oh, got to get down this river and I got to make, $5,000 before the end of the month in my rent? Or are we going down the river loving being here, even in the midst of what we're dealing with and doing? Little tiny things are life. That is life. How water feels, how hugs feel, how animals feel, how we're feeling about being here is huge right now.
I love that. How we're feeling just about being, because it's such a tough time in history. And I know they say every time in history has had its struggles, but I personally feel like this is a really tough time. So how can we tap in and remember like how connected we truly are to something so much greater and let that fill us up? We are like survivors. I feel like everybody who's alive right now chose to be here. I know you guys believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're creators. What are we bringing as creators? What are we bringing every day with our words, our actions, our heart? I'm going to read this to you, if you don't mind.
Please.
It is a prayer. This prayer was downloaded to, I don't have the actual name, but it was an ascended master and it's pretty old. It's called Prayer for Paradise on Earth. As I speak the word, take a great big deep breath in the body. Come into presence, let your breath out, feel yourself, and just relax. Great God of light, we behold your plan unfolding, whereby all spiritual clouds are dispelled, impurity and error cleansed from the realms of spirit and matter. The age of light and joy is being born through your infinite compassion. Misguided forces waken onto free and negative practices will cease. Forces of light, unhindered, restore the world. All of nature receives your loving influence and finds its rightful place while peaceful clouds move along brilliant skies and the fragrance, countless flowers float on the air. Abundant harvests glorify the earth. A great corner filled with happy voices. Boundaries between countries vanish. Ancient conflict here as its dream. All people are united, encircled by your light, and guided by your wisdom. Through service to humanity, all are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. Great God of light, strengthen us with courage and wisdom, follow your will, and realize paradise on earth.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to put that in the, I'll put a link to that in the description for everybody to read. That's gorgeous. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you for you thinking about going more into the healing modalities. as far as like breath work or practices.
Yeah. Do you think we can bring the divine masculine and the divine feminine into balance through our breath?
We're already doing that. Like just by sitting here right now, each of us have our own level of masculine and feminine energy. Just through the lives we've lived in our DNA. Some of us have more male, some of us have less, some of us have more female. And that's not related to our gender.
No, it doesn't. People don't realize
Right.
that. It's not a gender thing.
Right.
Yeah.
This is all important because they're spurring ground into Mother Earth. She's the feminine energy. She's magnetic. The male and the female are also electromagnetic. We're electromagnetic beings. We're like biocomputers, right? That are biology and energy. So electro-male, feminine, magnetic, earth, feminine, ground. Electro coming in from the cosmos, the sun especially, and it's the sun too that's changing and giving us more energy right now. And I see Ginny nodding her head.
She just told me about that while we were waiting for you. She just told me about the sun.
Okay, I would love to hear. But anyway, they commingle in the Taurus, where the toroidal field of the channel that literally grounds heaven and earth. We are it. Your physical bodies are it.
So that's what we're doing. We're trying to blend the physical, the human with the spirit. We're trying to blend the heaven and earth to recognize that that's the one. Yes, we are. We are that.
For the conduit.
But consciously, I think we're trying to bring into reality that we are that, to know that we are. Then we can all bump up to 4 or 5, whatever.
Tipping point.
That's it. To bring it full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
What are your thoughts about the sun, Jenny?
I'm sure it's very similar to, again, I already knew just based off of what Amanda said when she was like, yes, Vicki has this knowledge. She's like tapped in and she was explaining some of it. I'm like, oh man, we would need like a week-long podcast. It's like, because I bet you there's a lot of things I've learned or heard from other people that's going to be similar to what she's picking up on, which also tells me there's something to it, if there's this much of it. But I was talking to Amanda about the whole concept. Like you were talking about Lemuria. Amanda, when they talk about Lemuria, that was like the original Eden in a way. And it was like this just completely wonderfully amazing place where we were all in balance. We came from that, we came from this and there was all these crazy things that happened. But I was talking to Amanda about how part of the inverted thinking or teachings is that we've been taught to fear the sun, that the sun is bad, or that we need to protect ourselves, that we need to protect ourselves. And I mean, and yes, she has some very close friends who've had to recently go through getting skin cancer taken out, which is horrendous. And I was telling her that I listened to someone discuss that the reason that those things had started to even come about, and we didn't deal with those before, and yes, like our physical lifetimes were shorter, but the more processed, acidic, out of pH that our bodies are, the more damage the sun does to us. But that when we're in balance, we don't experience those super aggressive, dangerous things from the sun. And that there's a part of the programming intentionally done to keep us somewhat detached from the sun, because it is this boundless, endless amount of energy and plasmic energy that is free to us. And that is what helps activate the DNA. I'm sure you know of this too, but like they're talking about the Schumann resonance and like all of the solar flare activity that we have going on. And that part of that, as much as it's super disruptive to all these other things, and sure, to electrical, they're like, yeah, why do you think AT&T is going down? Why do you think Facebook went down? Because there are these huge amounts of plasmic energy that are coming through, specifically, not so much to be like, oh, we care about the AT&T network, but that it's coming to support us in activating this DNA that we have.
And the way they made a spirit, right, with the sunblock and all of that. And then, the skin cancer, yeah, related to pH and the fear of it. Oh, my skin is going to blister. Yeah, like you had your hand 3 feet away from the sun, you would burn it up completely. Like there's a physics part of it. But we're so far away And that solar flare happening, like all of this is not coincidence. And if you look at the astrology, we're all primed up, ready to go in full ascension, changing the earth, changing our consciousness. And it is igniting our DNA, like you said, turning us on. And into the crystalline, into that part of DNA that behaves in the particle or wave, where we can go into that waveform and then and it's our DNA opening up with that head part of it, burning on our consciousness.
I had heard some things specifically about fruit and eating fruit, specifically like highly electric type foods, but also about our water and making sure that we're trying to like have purified water, but also doing some of that practice of setting intentions in the water that we drink. Have you heard any of these things?
Yeah, we can structure our water with our thoughts. So the work of Dr. Emoto, right, who shows, and even other people under the microscope, that if we speak a word and it's love or fruit, it'll green structure will go into what's called coherence. And that's the other word I couldn't think of before, but coherence is when like our heart and our brain sync up, right? There's a level of frequency. So that can be programmed in our water with thoughts, with prayers. We can bless our water before we drink it. It can also be structured with, you could put crystals in your water, but you should program your crystals before you put it in the water, clearing the crystal with like some good salt water, and then putting good prayers or thought in there to put it then into the water. And the vibration of the food right now is it's a really big, it's huge. Staying away, like from anything that is packaged really would be ideal. Anything that's processed has something in it that isn't good. Fruit is good because it's nature's package. You know, you can even eat a lot of the peels that are going to be great for our digestive tract. It's called like high vibe eating. Anything that's green and raw is the best for live. I can't even digest meat. No, it won't even do it. I will puke it up. We have to listen to our own bodies and go by that. And you'll know what you're being called to eat. Like for you, Ginny, what's changed in your diet in the past year?
Gosh, a lot. Well, I find myself here recently just wanting more, which I normally, I mean, I eat meat. I'm not somebody who's vegan. I haven't been, but being called to more fruit, like even smoothies and things like that. I find myself not having a lot of things that immediately spark anything for me. Always peanut butter is forever in my diet because I have like a peanut butter problem, I'm pretty sure. I am Ginny, a aholic, along with other aholics. I could live on it. I literally could. And I don't know what that is, but I could live on peanut butter. They were like, hey, this is all you have. I'd be like, we're good. Yeah, I find myself being a little more geared towards just like, wow, fruit seems, I don't know. And I've always been somebody who's eaten a lot. I mean, I grew up on processed foods. I loved eating chef Boyardee raviolis and ramen from a package, like grew up on it. My cells probably have a lot of just stuff to get out.
You're feeling the fruit thing. That means your body is changing and saying like, hey, I really want this other vibration. Because food is just vibration.
Yeah.
I could sit here and talk with you guys for hours tonight, but I have to actually get going soon. Anything that you want to talk about, Vicki, that we didn't touch on today?
Okay. So the quantum healing was with geometry and frequencies from off planet. And we've had experiences, I don't know, maybe some of us I have with other consciousnesses, right? I would call them. Like, I don't see them as actual like beings. They don't come to me like in a form or whatever. But I know sometimes there are energies around me. Like I used to think they were angels. And then I started thinking of them as my guides or whatever. But this person that I found and the healing that he's doing is because he had an experience where he was taken off planet and taken by a group of really high, I don't know what level they are, beings who are helping Earth and bringing certain frequencies in to recode, to help with everything we've been talking about. So they're real frequencies, and we can actually hold them and be embodying them to help other people. There also was a clearing, like when we talk about the trauma healing and how, like you were asking, Amanda, getting your emotions out and dealing, going back and, oh, do I have to break my heart open to go through this? It could also be that we've been blocked and that there's technology in us that's been put there to block us. Most of the light workers, and like we're talking about that tipping point, and those of us that are going to go to higher consciousness have been blocked for a reason, and done so with specific technology that is in our bodies in the form of implants. Why I mention it is because I know one was taken out of me, because when I came out of this healing, and since I've been home from that healing, I do not have the same pain in my back in the places that have been with me my whole life. Oh. I can move and bend in ways I haven't been able to since I was a little girl. And I don't have the fog. I was dealing with a lot of brain fog before I left, and that fog is like gone. I love that.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I think I bring this up because I think I want to bring into awareness, and I want to with all the people that are coming to me for healing, is that we've been tampered with and are being blocked. Of course, with all that we see around us that's negative, all that programming, the fear, the division, what's going on in politics, on purpose, to keep us out of our power. We need to be aware and do our practices to set those boundaries and put ourselves in light every day. Live in it, feel it is the true me, because we are going to be getting screwed with. We just are. Maybe I've brought it up was just to find out if either one of you are getting interfered with, if you're feeling it.
Well, from the beginning of 2024, it's just felt hard. And I don't know why, because there's really nothing in my life that's any different or that should be giving me any more difficulty moving forward in my purpose, and things are happening for me. It's not like I'm not being given opportunities. Life is still happening and things are moving forward, but something inside of me feels like it's harder to just keep moving. I won't say stuck. I don't think I'm stuck.
Like heavy, like you're carrying, more weight, like other hands.
Yeah. There's no coincidence that I started this psychic mediumship program in January, right? I am doing a lot more chakra clearing. I'm doing a lot more connecting to the crystalline grid. I'm doing a lot more welcoming in that light and becoming that light. And I sense that it's what you're talking about, Vicki. Whatever this technology is, or whatever, it could just be a lower energy, a lower power sort of thing that doesn't want me to be out there in my power, speaking my truth, enlightening myself and then hopefully others, because then it's going to move us out of that programming. I'm remembering one of the first times that I ever spoke at an AA meeting. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was before my 1-year anniversary. And I was all like jammed up. Like we sometimes get like that before celebrations. And my sponsor said to me, is because you're going to stand up in front of a room of 100 people. That's how big my home group was. And tell them what God is doing in your life, that this is working for you, that you have been freed, that your soul has been saved essentially, and not in a religious way, but that I have been set free from this addiction. And it doesn't want you to. That lower energy does not want you to do that. So I wonder if that's why I'm consciously moving further and further and further into that light, into my power, into all of this stuff. So something's going to work double time to stop me. Is that like what you're talking about, Vicki?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling it too. And it could be that it is actually in us, because we're coming out of this way that we thought was reality. Right? So a lot of that programming is still in us, and it's bumping up against what our will knows now to want to align with God. And it's just bumping up there. Right? And so we're going to, I think, feel that density more and more. That's what I'm feeling. What I found that clears it is speaking your intention every morning. I am a child of God. I belong here. I have a right to be here. This is my birthright. I claim my space. I claim my heart. I am divine essence of the all and the everything. I am love. I am one. And just claim it and own it and just keep doing that.
I always go back to, I don't know why, probably there's a lot of reasons I think I go back to the reference in my mind or the analogy And Amanda, you've heard me use it 100 times, but it reminds me, my last phone before I had to get a new phone and I hadn't done enough of the upgrades. All of a sudden there was all this glitchiness. There was all these problems in the phone because of the lack of upgrades in the hardware. And I think that we still have some old hardware. We're working on the upgrade. And it's like, if you don't get that upgrade on your phone and it's like, hey, you better do it. Otherwise, all of a sudden, like stupid things will happen, like ridiculous things, right? With your phone. Something I've noticed for myself, there's a lot of paths that are clearing that I've always had or chosen a path of trying to figure out like relationship and the energy of money or finances. My whole life, that's clearing up. Like that's opening in a way I've never had happen, which has been amazing. In the midst of that, this other part, like the creative side of me too, that's like, okay, we still have to keep this creative side alive. You know, we need to do this. Something I've noticed is that I can sense dissonance a lot faster, a lot louder in my energy as it continues to like ebb and flow and grow and anchor. Where I don't think I sensed dissonance before, I can quickly and clearly, more so in a loud way, it's the weirdest way to explain it, but I'll be around people or things or situations and the dissonance is fast for me. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like you're talking about magnets. When you put magnets together like this and they're pushing against each other, I feel that a lot. Like I'll be in a space and it's, I know I don't have to react, but I feel it's almost like loud on hyper stereo where whatever it is that I'm embodying at the time is dissonant with some things around. And that dissonance is harder for me to be around. I have to like leave places at times or find myself needing to get quiet to recharge because I recognize the dissonance fast now, if that makes sense. And it feels like maybe it's always been there, maybe louder.
Well, thinking as though your frequency is increasing, all of ours are, whether we're aware of it or not. But when we are even aware of it more, then I think we're more cognizant to knowing when the dissonant frequencies are around us. I feel it in the field and it'll be like all of a sudden it's like they're trying to exist at the same time that don't go together at all. Is that kind of
100%?
And then I'm like, okay, I'm disconnecting and I'm going to put myself move out of this space and just put myself out where I want to be.
And it's not even anything I need to try to figure out what it is. It's just a feeling of, oh, this is dissonant, like shift, be like the water and go this way. Because unless you want to be like in this weird dissonant, but it's louder for me now. It's like, oh, like I feel it and I'm like, oh, all right. And I realize I'm like, I need to be outside. Like I need to just be outside. And it's weird because I don't think I ever felt it as strongly to a point where I have to physically remove myself or go get quiet.
It's probably why I go in the bath and I try to like center myself in the water. I'll read something or I'll listen to a tarot reading or whatever it is.
You're becoming the water. In Lemuria, we were in the water. Like we were water beings, but we're on the land. So that's why we still resonate with that frequency. And then you're in that place where you're home and your body goes, oh, something in you is knowing to do that. Right. Which is huge. So all of these ways, like being in nature. Yes. Number one, water, salt bath, a prayer, song, anything that brings us joy. Keep that music going, keep the body moving, keep everything flowing, bring it on up, sisters. So like we're going.
I love it. And when Ginny was talking about the dissonance, I'm sure you would too. I just kept hearing the dissonance is here. It is so here. It is so here. We are so ready for it. Always have to bring my Eddie into it. Always.
I don't think that's a podcast. It would not be normal. I'd be very concerned.
We are light, invincible. If you listen to the song Invincible, you literally feel like you're getting in a rocket ship and you're going to the sun. Like it is so uplifting and so danceable.
I love it. All right. Well, listen, ladies, I really got to go. This has been great. Maybe we could do part two another time. We will know. We will know as we all experience another beaming up. Then we'll have to reconvene and cohere.
I'm so down.
That sounds awesome. Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being born. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for choosing to come back to this earth to grace us with your beauty and your wisdom and your light, because you are doing God's work and you are doing humanities work. You're helping usher people into this new earth, which is where we're headed. I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad we're still connected. And Ginny, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you guys.
All
Love
right,
you guys.
I love you both. Have an awesome night.
Bye. Well.
If this episode resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
You can also find me on Instagram at The Flippin' Phoenix.
See you next time.
Until then, let your soul rise.